Extraterrestrial monsters requested protection from humans after we hunted them for sport. They had conquered 17 star systems before they ever heard of humanity. They were nightmares made flesh, standing 6 meters tall with black chitinous armor that could deflect most energy weapons. Their bodies regenerated from wounds that would kill other species, and their acidic blood ate through metal and stone alike. They didn't negotiate, didn't take prisoners, and didn't show mercy. Every species that encountered them either ran or died. When they came to the human colonies on B, they expected the same result. The colonists there numbered about 50,000, mostly farmers and miners trying to build a new life on a harsh world. They had seen colonies like this before. Easy prey, simple harvesting. The attack came at dawn. 300 warriors descended on the main settlement, their chittering communications filling the air like a swarm of mechanical insects. They moved with the confidence of creatures that had never known defeat. The colonists fought back with everything they had: plasma rifles, explosives, even modified mining equipment. But they kept coming, their wounds closing almost as fast as the colonists could make them. Governor Sarah made the hardest decision of her life. She ordered an evacuation. The ships would take the children, the elderly, and anyone who couldn't fight. Everyone else would buy them time. Her message to Earth was simple and direct. Send everything you have. These things don't stop. The evacuation took 3 days. 3 days of constant fighting, of falling back block by block, building by building. They were confused by the resistance. Most species broke after the first assault. These humans kept fighting even when it seemed hopeless. They used tactics they had never seen before. Ambushes, traps, coordinated strikes that targeted specific warriors. They were learning, adapting, studying their enemy even as they died. When the last evacuation ship lifted off, 2,000 colonists remained behind. They weren't caught by the advance. They had chosen to stay. Most were hunters, trackers, former soldiers, and anyone else who knew how to survive in hostile territory. They disappeared into the wilderness, into the mountains and forests of B, and they took their weapons with them. The thought they had won. They began establishing their nests in the ruins of human settlements, preparing to spread across the planet. Then the survivors started fighting back, but they weren't fighting like soldiers anymore. They were hunting. Had been a big game guide on Earth before joining the colony. He tracked leopards in Africa, bears in Alaska, and cassowaries in Australia. He'd learned patience, strategy, and how to kill things that were bigger and meaner than him. When they came, he saw something different than everyone else did. He saw patterns, behavior, weaknesses. He gathered a small team, 8 people who knew the wilderness, who could track and shoot and stay silent for hours. They spent 2 weeks just watching learning their routines, their patrol patterns, how they communicated. Noticed something important. They were connected somehow, sharing information across their entire group. When one learned something, they all knew it. But that meant if one made a mistake, they all made the same mistake. The first kill took 4 days of patient stalking. They found a lone warrior exploring a canyon system, and his team set up positions along the canyon walls, blocking every exit. They'd studied the creature's armor and found the weak points. The joints were flexible, had to be for movement. The eyes were protected but still vulnerable, and there was a soft spot at the base of the skull where the armor plates met. They used armor-piercing rounds modified from mining explosives. The first shot took out the creature's left eye. It roared and spun, trying to locate its attacker. The second shot hit the back of its knee and it stumbled. The team kept firing, staying mobile, never giving it a target. It took 43 shots before the fell. Even then, it was regenerating, trying to stand. Walked up with a modified mining drill and punched it through the base of the skull. The creature finally stopped moving. Looked at his team. They were exhausted, covered in acidic burns from blood splatter, but they were alive. They'd killed one, and if they could kill one, they could kill more. He mounted this head on a wall in their hidden camp. Then he did something that would change everything. He recorded a video. Him standing next to the trophy, explaining how they'd tracked it, how they'd killed it, what weapons worked best. He uploaded it to the colonial network before they could block the signal. The video reached Earth 3 days later. Within hours, it had billions of views. Humanity didn't watch it with fear or horror. They watched it with interest, with excitement, with that ancient predatory instinct that had carried humans from prey animals on the African savanna to the top of Earth's food chain. The comments started immediately. What caliber did you use? Did you try for a heart shot? How many people in the team? Where can I sign up? Military analysts studied the video from a tactical perspective, but so did hunters, sport shooters, and adventure tourism companies. Within a week, 3 different hunting lodges had announced expedition packages pending government approval. Weapons manufacturers started advertising Predator lines of rifles and ammunition. There were debates on hunting forums about fair chase ethics and what kind of permit system should be established. The Galactic Council watched all of this with complete bewilderment. They'd sent warning messages to humanity. They were the most dangerous species in known space. They'd destroyed civilizations. They'd wiped out entire planets. The proper response was to flee, to establish defensive perimeters, to avoid contact. Humanity's response was to argue about whether you should be allowed to use scoped rifles, or if that was unsporting. His team killed 3 more over the next month. Each time they learned more. Each time they got better. And each time uploaded a new video. He started giving tips, sharing tactics, teaching anyone who would listen how to hunt the galaxy's apex predators. Other survivor groups started following his methods. Within 2 months, the ONB had lost over 40 warriors to human hunting teams. The creatures started changing their behavior, becoming more cautious, traveling in larger groups. But humans adapted faster. They formed bigger teams, used better coordination, and brought heavier weapons. When the first Earth military response fleet arrived 6 months after the initial attack, they expected to find a desperate last stand. Instead, they found organized human hunting parties trading tips and competing for the best trophies. They had stopped expanding their territory. They were staying near their nests, afraid to venture too far into the wilderness. The fleet admiral stared at his briefing reports in disbelief. Let me get this straight. The species that has terrorized 17 star systems are hiding from our colonists. Yes, sir, his intelligence officer replied. And hunting permits are being sold on Earth for the next expedition season. We've got over 2 million applications. The admiral sat back in his chair. What have we become? His intelligence officer smiled slightly. What we've always been, sir, persistence predators. We just found new prey. The word spread across human space. They weren't unstoppable. They could be killed. They could be hunted. And humanity had 40,000 years of hunting experience. They'd driven mammoths to extinction with stone tools. They'd learned to track and kill every dangerous predator Earth had ever produced. They were just another animal on the list. The first commercial hunting expedition launched 3 months later. 75 people, paying enormous fees for the chance to hunt the galaxy's most dangerous game. They hired as their guide. Every major human news network covered it. It was the most-watched sporting event in human history. The hive mind, for the first time in its existence, felt something it had never felt before, something it had inflicted on countless other species but had never experienced itself. They felt fear, and they began to understand that they'd made a terrible mistake. They hadn't encountered another prey species to harvest. They'd encountered Earth's apex predator, and humanity was just getting started. They tried to adapt. Their hive mind was their greatest advantage. When one warrior learned something, all warriors learned it. When one discovered a human tactic, the entire species knew to counter it. This had made them unstoppable against every other species they'd encountered. But humans were different. Humans adapted faster. 3 months after the first commercial hunting expedition, they changed their patrol patterns. They stopped traveling alone or in small groups. Now they moved in packs of 20 or more, keeping constant communication, watching all directions at once. They thought this would stop the hunters. It didn't. The humans just brought bigger teams and better weapons. A hunting group calling themselves the Predators developed a new tactic: 25 hunters working in coordinated waves. The first wave would engage the pack from long range, using heavy rifles to wound and scatter them. The second wave would cut off escape routes. The third wave moved in for close kills. They took down 8 in a single engagement. The video went viral across human space. The leader of the Predators, a woman named Jennifer, became famous overnight. The hive mind analyzed the engagement. They determined that humans were using pack tactics, something they'd seen in Earth's historical records. Wolves, lions, hyenas, social predators coordinating for maximum efficiency. They could counter this. They began setting ambushes, using their own numbers to surround and overwhelm human hunting parties. The humans adapted again. They started using drones for reconnaissance, mapping positions before engaging. They used thermal imaging to track the creatures through forests and caves. They studied the ambush patterns and learned to recognize the signs. Within 2 weeks, human casualties dropped by 70% while losses increased. The hive mind was frustrated. Every time they evolved a new strategy, humans countered it within days. Every time they found a human weakness, humans eliminated it. The creatures that had conquered 17 star systems were being systematically outthought by what they'd considered a primitive prey species. Then they tried something desperate. They began targeting human settlements again, hopping to draw the hunters into defending static positions. They attacked a mining outpost on B's southern continent. 200 warriors against 500 human miners and their families. The attack lasted 6 hours. When it was over, 173 were dead. The humans had lost 18 people. The miners had turned their entire settlement into a killing field. Trapped corridors, explosive charges, overlapping fields of fire. They'd studied every video of tactics and prepared accordingly. The mining outpost became a memorial, its walls decorated with skulls. Now the most famous hunter in human space was interviewed by every major news network. They asked him how humans had turned the tables so completely. His answer was simple: "We've been doing this for 40,000 years. Hunting isn't just something we do, it's what we are. Every culture on Earth has hunting traditions. Every human language has words for tracking and stalking and taking down prey. They are big and tough, but they're still just animals. And humans are really good at hunting animals." The interview was watched by 3 billion people. It was also watched by the Galactic Council, who were beginning to understand something terrifying. Humanity wasn't winning through superior technology or military might. They were winning because hunting was encoded into human culture at a fundamental level. Every human seemed to instinctively understand predator tactics, even those who'd never hunted before. The population on B had dropped to less than 800. They'd arrived with 3,000 warriors. The rest were dead, their skulls and hides displayed as trophies across human space. Hunting lodges were booking expeditions 2 years in advance. Weapons manufacturers couldn't keep up with demand. There were television shows devoted to hunting, competition leagues with prize money, rating systems for trophy quality. The hive mind made a decision that went against every instinct the species had. The remaining on B, abandoned their nests and fled to their ships. They jumped to another system, hopping to escape the human hunters. The humans followed them. They tried to establish new territory in the Tau system. They'd barely finished building their first nest when human ships arrived. Not military vessels, commercial hunting expeditions. The hunters had tracked them across 6 light-years like they were following a blood trail through the forest. In the Tau system, they faced coordinated assaults from multiple hunting groups. The humans had formed guilds, sharing information and tactics. They'd established a ranking system for different kills. A warrior was worth standard points. A breeder was worth more. A hive lord, the rare commanders that led large groups, was the ultimate trophy. Hunters competed to find and kill hive lords, driving deeper into territory with every expedition. The psychological warfare started small. A hunting group called the Star Rangers began leaving markers near nests, skulls of dead warriors arranged in patterns, trophy photos pinned to trees, scorecards rating the difficulty of each kill. It was meant to unnerve and it worked. The hive mind couldn't understand why humans would waste time on such displays. On Earth, it was called posting up, marking your territory, showing dominance. Every human hunter understood it instinctively. Other groups the tactic. Soon every nest was surrounded by grim trophies and human markers. The creatures who had terrorized the galaxy, who had never known fear or hesitation, began to show signs of stress. They made mistakes. They broke formation. They fled when they should have fought. The hive mind was fragmenting under pressure it had never experienced. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. There had been a known threat for decades, but they'd always been someone else's problem. Now they were watching humanity systematically hunt the species toward extinction. The council representatives didn't know whether to be relieved or horrified. Ambassador Wren of the Empire spoke for many when he addressed the council. I have reviewed the human hunting videos. I have read their forums and social networks. I have studied their history, and I have reached a conclusion. They made a fundamental error. They assessed humanity's technology and military capability, but they failed to assess humanity's nature. The humans are not defending themselves. They are not fighting a war. They are enjoying themselves. They have turned the galaxy's apex predator into a sporting activity. The council chamber was silent. Then Ambassador Wren added something that made everyone uncomfortable. I have also noted something else. Several human hunting groups have begun asking questions about other dangerous species in the galaxy. They are inquiring about the void serpents of Andromeda, the crystal swarms of 442, the shadow stalkers of Wolf 1061. I fear we may have created a new problem. Humanity has discovered they are the best predators in the galaxy, and they are looking for new prey. A message arrived at the council 3 days later. It came from the hive mind. The creatures who had never negotiated, who had never shown mercy, who had destroyed 17 civilizations, were requesting a diplomatic meeting with humanity. They wanted to talk. They wanted to negotiate. They wanted the hunting to stop. The galaxy watched in shock as the request was transmitted across all networks. The most feared species in known space was asking for mercy from humans. The hunter had become the hunted, and they were begging for it to end. Humanity's initial response was brief and businesslike. Diplomatic talks can be arranged. However, hunting season on B doesn't close for another 3 months. We'll talk after that. Please send your diplomatic delegation to Earth Station 7 on April 15th. Bring documentation of all your territorial holdings and a full accounting of species you've attacked. Also, be advised that Earth Station 7 has a very nice trophy room in the main concourse. You might want to review it before the meeting. The message ended with coordinates and standard diplomatic protocols. But it felt like a predator playing with its food. The hive mind realized with absolute certainty that they had no leverage, no strength, no position to negotiate from. They were at humanity's mercy, and mercy was not something they had ever shown to others. Earth Station 7 orbited Luna, humanity's oldest off-world settlement. The station was enormous, a diplomatic hub where humans met with other species to conduct business and negotiate treaties. The main concourse was designed to impress visitors with humanity's achievements, art galleries, cultural exhibits, historical displays, and as humanity had mentioned, a very nice trophy room. The delegation arrived exactly on time. 3 representatives, chosen by the hive mind to speak for their entire species. They moved through the station corridors with visible anxiety, their chitinous armor clicking nervously. Every human they passed stopped to stare. Some took pictures. A few children pointed and asked their parents if those were real ones. The trophy room was unavoidable. They had to pass through it to reach the diplomatic chambers. It was a large space with excellent lighting and carefully arranged displays. Mounted heads lined the walls. Complete hides were displayed in glass cases. There were weapons that had killed notable warriors, including the modified mining drill had used for his first kill. That drill was now in a museum. The centerpiece was a full skeleton, carefully preserved and posed in an aggressive stance. A placard explained it was a Hive Lord killed by Jennifer's team in the Tau system. It had taken 40 hunters 3 days to bring down. The placard listed it as the most difficult hunt on record. There were photos of the hunting team standing around the body, smiling. The delegation stood frozen, staring at the remains of their kind. The hive mind processed what they were seeing. This wasn't a war memorial. This wasn't a monument to victory in battle. This was a sporting display. Humans had turned their species into trophies the same way they displayed Earth animals: deer heads, bear skins, lion mounts. They were just another animal to humans, dangerous prey worth hunting and displaying. Ambassador was waiting in the diplomatic chamber. She was human, middle-aged, with the calm, professional demeanor of someone who'd negotiated dozens of treaties. She gestured to seats that had been specially made to accommodate physiology. "Please sit. Can we offer you anything? Water, nutrient solutions." They sat awkwardly, their large frames making the furniture creak. One of them spoke, the translator converting their chittering communication to human language. "We come seeking an end to hostilities." "I'm not sure we're in hostilities," Ambassador replied pleasantly. "We have a hunting season with proper permits and regulations. It's all very organized and legal under human law." "Your species is exterminating us." "I don't think that's accurate. Current population estimates suggest there are still about 40,000 across multiple systems. That's quite sustainable if properly managed." The representative's claws scraped against the table. "We were 300,000 before we encountered your species. You have killed or driven off most of our population. Your hunters follow us to every system. We cannot establish new nests. We cannot expand. We cannot exist as we did before." Ambassador nodded sympathetically. "Yes, I can see how that would be distressing. However, I feel I should point out that you initiated hostilities when you attacked our colonies. You killed 17,000 humans on B. You've destroyed 17 other civilizations before that. The Galactic Council has substantial documentation of your species' aggressive expansion. So from our perspective, you're getting off fairly lightly. We wish to negotiate a cessation of hunting activities." "That's certainly possible. What are you offering in exchange?" They had prepared for this. They offered territorial concessions, reparations in raw materials, technology exchanges. Ambassador listened patiently, taking notes. When they finished, she looked up with a slight smile. "Those are interesting offers, but they don't really address the fundamental issue. The problem is that humans enjoy hunting your species. It's become quite popular. Do you know how much revenue the hunting industry generates? Last year it was over 40 billion credits. That's not counting secondary markets like weapons, equipment, guides, and tourism. You've become a major economic sector." They were silent. They hadn't considered that angle. They'd thought this was about warfare or territory. They hadn't understood it was about profit and entertainment. Ambassador continued. "However, humanity does have experience with this sort of situation. On Earth, we hunted many species to near extinction. Then we realized we were about to lose them forever and we changed our approach. We call it conservation. We protect species, manage their populations, ensure their survival. It's quite successful." "You wish to conserve us?" They sounded confused. "In a manner of speaking. Here's our proposal. They will withdraw from all conquered territories. You'll provide reparations to the civilizations you've damaged. We have a list. You'll submit to population monitoring and agree to live in designated preservation zones. In exchange, humanity will regulate hunting to sustainable levels. We'll ensure your species survives." Another spoke up. "You will continue hunting us." "On a limited basis, yes. We've developed a lottery system. A small number of permits issued each year with very high fees. The money funds conservation efforts. It's how we saved Earth's elephants, rhinos, and several species of big cats. They're all still around because we learned to balance hunting with preservation. You would allow some of us to be killed so the rest can live. Essentially, yes, but consider your alternative. Right now, you're completely unprotected. Any human with a rifle and a ship can hunt you without restriction. Under our proposal, you'd have legal protections, habitats set aside for your use, medical care if needed, population monitoring to ensure healthy numbers, and your species would definitely survive. The delegation was silent. The hive mind was processing this impossible situation. They'd been apex predators, conquerors, the terror of the galaxy. Now they were being offered a place on humanity's endangered species list, protected game animals. The humiliation was profound, but the alternative was extinction. There's one more thing, Ambassador added. Part of Earth's conservation model involves education. We'd want to establish cultural exchange programs, allow researchers to study your species, maybe some carefully supervised tourism to your preservation zones. The more humans understand and appreciate the more they'll support conservation efforts. You want us to be exhibits. I'd phrase it differently, but you're not wrong. However, you'd be living exhibits with full legal rights and protections. The Galactic Council has already indicated they'd support this arrangement. Several species you previously attacked are quite enthusiastic about it, actually. They sat in silence for a long time. Finally, one spoke, and if we refuse? Ambassador's expression didn't change. Then hunting season continues without restriction. Based on current attrition rates, our estimate your species has about 15 years before you reach a critical population threshold. After that, recovery becomes unlikely. You'd be functionally extinct within a generation. You have made us prey. Yes, but we're offering to make you protected prey. It's not ideal from your perspective, I'm sure, but it's survival. And isn't survival what all species ultimately want? The delegation conferred through their hive mind. They contacted their home population, shared every detail of the negotiation. The debate raged through their collective consciousness. Pride versus pragmatism, honor versus extinction. In the end, survival won. It always did. We accept your terms. Ambassador smiled and stood, offering her hand. The representative looked at the hand, understanding the human gesture from their research. Slowly, carefully, it reached out and shook. The gesture felt like surrender, and in many ways it was. The treaty signing was broadcast across the galaxy. The formally requested protection under the Galactic Endangered Species Preservation Act. Humanity agreed to serve as primary conservators. Designated preservation zones were established in 3 star systems. Hunting permits would be limited to 200 per year, chosen by lottery, with fees starting at 500,000 credits each. The hunter who'd started everything was interviewed after the signing. The reporter asked him how he felt about the becoming a protected species. I think it's good, said. When I started hunting them, I was angry. They'd killed my friends, destroyed my home. But somewhere along the way, I started respecting them. They're incredible creatures, perfectly adapted predators. It would be a shame if they disappeared. This way, they'll survive. And future generations of humans will still be able to test themselves against the galaxy's most dangerous game. That's conservation done right. Some people are saying humans are too dangerous, that we've become the apex predators of the galaxy. Smiled. We've always been apex predators. We just had to leave Earth before everyone else figured it out. They learned the hard way. We're persistence hunters. We track, we adapt, we never give up. That's what carried us from the African savanna to the stars. They were just the first species to really push us. They won't be the last. Is that a warning? It's a fact. Humans protect what we hunt, and we hunt what we respect. They are under our protection now. Any species that threatens them will have to deal with us. and were very good at dealing with threats. The interview ended. Across the galaxy, species that had witnessed humanity's transformation of the From Conquerors to Conservation project made quiet notes. Humanity had proven something important. They weren't just another spacefaring civilization. They were Earth's apex predator species, carrying 40,000 years of hunting instinct into the stars. They settled into their preservation zones, adapting to their new reality. Some humans called it justice. Others called it conservation. They called it survival. And they learned to live with the knowledge that they would never be safe from humans, but they would survive because of them. In the trophy room on Earth Station 7, they added a new display. The original treaty documents signed by both species. Above them, a quote from, "We protect what we hunt, and we hunt what we respect. Welcome to the endangered species list." They had learned the hardest lesson in the galaxy. Never become humanity's prey. Because once humans start hunting you, they never stop. They just get better at it.